Power Rangers comic books begins, hopefully, with Power Rangers Prime #1. So earlier this year, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers ongoing series at Boom Studios ended. And you know what? It's just as well for my money, because that book needed a creative shakeup as far as I'm concerned. Power Rangers Prime is, I hope, the creative shakeup I've been looking for. The book takes place several decades in the future, and we find out that Earth has been colonized by the planet Eltar. What's kind of interesting about that is that Eltar is the homeworld of Zordon, the mentor for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original Power Rangers. Curiously, we find that under this new regime, Power Rangers are considered outlaws. And amidst this environment, we find Lauren Sheba, an underused character from Power Rangers Samurai. I presume she's been temporarily displaced somehow, but we don't find that out for sure yet. And stop me if you've heard this one before, but the Earth is about to come under an otherworldly threat, and it looks like Power Rangers are going to have to rise up to fight it. This is an interesting shakeup, at least at first glance. It looks like they're really going to give our author Melissa Flores a chance to run wild with the Power Rangers universe and Power Rangers concepts and ideas, etc. I appreciate that the Lauren Sheba character is here. Power Rangers Samurai isn't regarded as an amazing season by diehard fans or anything like that, but I think the general consensus is that character could have gone further. We could have done more with her. The art and colors have a really nice energy to them. Our penciler here is an artist who I don't want to disrespect, so I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. One thing I can appreciate here is the lack of what I will call Mighty Morphin window dressing. Because Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was such a phenomenon in the 90s and is to this day the most well-known iteration of the Power Rangers license, the franchise and the license tend to lean heavily into the Mighty Morphin stuff, understandably, I guess. This book doesn't seem to be doing that, though. There are variant covers with the Mighty Morphin Rangers on them, but there's no indication that the Rangers we will eventually get in this series will be the Mighty Morphin Rangers. You know what I mean? I was initially skeptical about this Power Rangers Prime book, but I'm pretty happy with what we got from the first issue. So I really hope that Power Ranger fans like me will show up for this book and at least give it a shot. I think that Hasbro canceling the TV show and subsequently auctioning off 30 years worth of costumes and props from the show really indicates where their head is at as far as the Power Rangers brand is concerned. So we as Power Ranger fans really need to show up for this brand, this franchise, this thing that we love, wherever and whenever we can. And this Power Rangers Prime book is as good a place to do that as any. In Power Rangers Prime #2, we learn that our big villain's name is Rita Repulsa. Boy, they really got outside their comfort zone on that one, didn't they? I'm actually kidding. It's okay with me that they include some classic elements from the franchise, even though this is like a rebooted take on Power Rangers. I mean, you want people to still know that this is a Power Rangers story, so it makes sense. More on classic Power Rangers elements in a minute. So we're at the point in the story where we're getting to know our villain, this new Rita Repulsa, and the heroes, the Rangers, are coming together. They're getting to know each other. And no complaints on that front. Things are progressing nicely. We do hear some familiar last names in this issue, though. My guess is that's going to be a case where some of those people are descendants from characters we know, and others are just names used arbitrarily. This series is going to have VR troopers in it. That's kind of fun and interesting. For those of you who weren't alive back then, in the mid-90s, VR Troopers was a show that was out on the Fox network, at the same time as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was produced by the same company. It wasn't a spin-off, but it's like, okay, Power Rangers was successful, let's do the same kind of thing here. I'm actually legit surprised that it's taken 30 years for the VR Troopers idea to make its way into a Power Rangers story. I'm curious to see what they do with it. The variant cover game for this book continues to be really strong. I'm especially partial to these negative space variant covers by Bon Bernardo. We've got a Mighty Morphin Blue Ranger one here. We actually got a look recently at what the Ranger suits are going to look like for this Power Rangers Prime series. Dan Mora drew this image. I don't know if he designed them, but here they are. Don't really care for them personally, if I'm being honest. They look a little too armored up, a little too Iron Man-ish for my taste. Call me a purist, but I actually prefer the spandex type look for my Power Rangers. I know it looks kind of cheesy on a practical level, but it also looks smooth and sleek, and if you get the right design, it can look really cool. I actually think if you take away the spandex type look, the story actually loses a little bit of its Power Ranger-ness, if that makes sense. But obviously, because this is a comic book and not a TV show or a movie, much is going to depend on how the suits are drawn. It's a big drawback for me, but it doesn't kill the book. I mean, obviously not. The first issue went back for a second and then a third printing, and then my understanding is that this issue has already gone back for another printing as well. And as a Power Ranger fan, that's great to hear. I was hoping for like a Power Rangers museum in Power Rangers Prime number 3. That's not really what we get, though. But I don't blame the issue for that. I more or less blame the solicitation for the issue. So the solicitation text for this issue, like the preview text designed to entice you to come buy it, advertises that our characters are going to go to a museum filled with Rangers artifacts. I've always wanted to see a location like that in the Power Rangers universe. And I think these comics from Boom Studios would be the perfect place to do it. In my head, it kind of looks like the Power Chamber looked in Zeo, like with different things on display. What we get here is nothing like that, though. It's pretty much a regular museum that happens to have some, like, Power Rangers artifacts tucked away in, like, hidden rooms. And, like, the building that this museum is in happens to be the old command center / power chamber building. So I don't know how well a Power Rangers museum would have worked in this story, given what they've established up to this point. But if there was ever a time to do it, this was it. This was a disappointment. I want to like this book, okay? I really, really do. I want it to be successful. But at the same time, I gotta call a spade a spade. The chemistry between our characters is decent right now. Nothing to really write home about, but we are only 3 issues in. One thing I will say is that the variant covers for this book have been really fun to see. Like Danny Earls, for instance, does a Power Rangers Turbo one that's really fun. Bon Bernardo has a variant cover for this issue too, and I love virtually anything he does. He's fantastic. I've been following him since he was a fan artist online, and look at him now. He's drawing for Boom Studios. It's amazing where you can get drawing Power Rangers. Power Rangers Prime number 4 is, I think, the end of the first volume of Power Rangers Prime. Meaning I think they're going to take these first 4 issues and collect them into the first trade paperback. I think that's what they're doing. And now that we've reached the end of Volume 1, the story kind of is progressing the way you might imagine it would. There's some elements of a traditional Power Rangers origin story in here. And then there are, of course, some elements that are unique to the Power Rangers Prime setting and story. In this issue, for instance, our Red Ranger Lauren is morphed for the first time, and she faces off against the VR Troopers, so we get some action. That's neat. But my general feeling on this book right now is that it's fine. Like, it's okay. But I really, really, really want to be in love with this book, especially because I think this is the right direction you want to go with the Power Rangers comic books now that there's no Power Rangers TV series. I'm just hoping that as we get more issues and as the series matures and comes into its own a little bit more, the drama and the intrigue continue to mount. For me, the most effective part of this issue, issue 4, was the flashback sequence that we open the book with, featuring June, the Eltarian kid. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name, forgive me. I hope we get more of those kinds of flashbacks going forward with the other Rangers. It's an effective method of getting to know the characters and adding more depth to the story. Now that we've seen the Red Ranger suit in action a little bit, I have to say I'm still not crazy about the texture and look of the Ranger suits. I still miss the spandex. I don't know, maybe I'm a purist in that sense. If I'm being honest, the most fun that I've had with Power Rangers Prime so far has been with the variant covers. Not only the ones that Bon Bernardo has been giving us, like this one, but Matt Taylor gives us a good one this issue, featuring the Space Rangers. Keep doing your thing, Power Rangers Prime. I'm not ready to give up on you quite yet.